Harvard says yes, Wharton says no. Does AI tutoring actually deliver on its promise? I went through 73 pages of research, so you don't have to. Let's break down the facts from both studies. If you don't know me yet, my name is Ahir Chatterjee. I'm the founder of Tutor, an AI tutoring platform for higher education. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit biased about this, so when I'm saying my opinion, I'm going to have a little indicator in the corner saying this is my take, and when I'm presenting the facts, I'm just going to be presenting the facts from the study so you guys can know the difference between the two. Before we get started, I want to point out that I didn't come up with this comparison. Isabella Howe did, the executive director at Stanford's Accelerator for Learning. She brought it to my attention when I saw it on my LinkedIn feed about the comparison between the two. AI tutors at Harvard were good, and then Wharton found some contradictory evidence. So we're going to take a look at those. Back in May, an undergraduate physics course at Harvard tested active learning versus AI tutoring to see what was more effective for learning gains with students. The researchers split 194 undergrads into two groups. Group 1 got AI tutoring in week 1, and in week 2 they got active learning. The second group had the opposite. So in week 1, they did active learning. Week 2, they did AI tutoring. Each week, all of the students took a pre-test. That way we can compare the pre-test to the post-test. And then between the pre and post, they got their study session. Either it was an AI-assisted study session at home, or it was an active learning session in the classroom with the instructor. What the researchers found when they compared both groups was that the group with AI tutoring actually received double the learning benefits over the students doing active learning when taking the pre-test and comparing the post-test scores, like the differential between the two. They also surveyed the students, and they found that students reported themselves being more engaged in the class on a 5-point Likert scale, and more motivated as well. Definitely some benefits both on the learning side and in the student attitude side towards learning. My take on this topic, I actually think that despite the findings, it's a little weak in terms of long-term benefits, right? We're testing short-term benefits because students come in to take this pre-test, they do some kind of lesson with either AI tutoring or active learning, and then they immediately take a post-test. But that's not really how the classroom works for a lot of students. Students are doing their homeworks and studying before a test, and then they have to take the test. If we're not promoting long-term learning benefits, that's a problem, because as soon as students leave the class, if they're not getting the knowledge, it's not really useful when they graduate or move on to other courses. Regarding the actual AI, I can't speak much on the platform because they don't have much available. It looked like they had something pretty cool there. But in terms of what they did, it was a pretty simple system. It could probably be improved on with their system prompt. All they did was they took a system prompt that encouraged it to use indirect answers, so it wouldn't give the answer away necessarily, but it had both the problem and the solution to the problem given to the AI tutor beforehand, and then it helped students through it. Moving into the Wharton study, they posted a draft back in July on this paper that describes their experiments with a lot of high school math classes, so they have a lot more of a sample size here. They decided to split students into 3 groups: GPT base, GPT tutor, and the control group. All of the students heard the lecture by their teacher, then they took a practice test with their treatment. The GPT base people got to use a form of ChatGPT with no pedagogy inserted. GPT Tutor was their own version of GPT with that tutoring, the indirect question answering. And then finally, the control group, which had no devices, it had their class notes and a textbook to help them along. After all of that, they had a post-test where all the students didn't have access to any of the materials they had before, and then they measured across the pre-test and the post-test. What the researchers found was that when they compared the groups to the control on the pre-test, the GPT-based students scored 48% better, but the GPT tutor students scored 127% better, and that's with the assistance. The problem is that when assistance was taken away for the post-test, GPT-based students scored 17% lower than the control group. The thing with GPT tutors, though, was that they saw basically no difference. They performed exactly the same as the control group. So in comparison of the two studies, I actually think Wharton's study design is a lot better than the currently published Harvard design. They had so many controls, but obviously they had to run a more extensive study because they had 839-ish students. They were high school students as well, but they really did their best to control for as many variables as they could. We can really take their statistics at face value. When they say generative AI can harm learning, we have to be careful with what they're saying because GPT alone is not going to really help students. But they did find basically a negligible difference with AI tutors. And I do think while they had a pretty good system prompt, they could improve these AI tutors. Again, this is only testing short-term gains because they had 90 minutes, so they had, I think, like a 30-minute lecture or something like that, and then a 30 minutes with the tutor or whatever kind of studying method they needed to do that pre-test. And then they had the post-test. So that was all done across a 90-minute stretch. I would love to see some more long-term studies done. What we are seeing is that GPT tutors are definitely better than just base GPT, though this Wharton study does not say if there's any real difference in the short-term learning benefits of the two. We can, however, say that there's definitely an improvement of using GPT on a test, or GPT tutors on a test especially. Putting it all together, what we can take away from these studies is that AI tutoring is not harmful to learning. We know that much. But the true learning benefits for them are somewhere between either little to nothing from the Wharton study or 2 times the learning benefits from the Harvard study. They probably exist somewhere in between, but we're going to need more actual studies to prove that, and especially to see if it generalizes. I would love to see long-term learning benefits studied. Thanks for watching. I hope this was valuable to you. If it was, check out our website below, and see you guys in the next video.